Afternoon, everybody. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's 2 o'clock. It's time for Foundations Live. Hi, this afternoon I'm joined by Sean McCluskey from the Home Adaptations Installer Network, who will be talking about the Home Adaptations Installer Network a little bit later this afternoon as part of our rundown and introduction for the brand new DFG Quality Mark.
Foundations Live!
So, afternoon, if you haven't been to a Foundations Live before, welcome. My name's Paul Smith. I'm Director at Foundations, and we're the national body for home improvement agencies and the Disabled Facilities Grant in England, which means we're funded by the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government to support you with pretty much anything DFG related and home improvement agency related. So please do get in touch if you need any help with updating and delivering your services, which is mostly what this afternoon's session's about. If you're looking for closed captions and you're viewing via our website, you can find those on either LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, and the links for those are at the bottom of the screen. So, as I said, today we're going to be talking about the DFG Quality Mark, which is something that we talked about during the spring run of DFG Champions Roadshows, and we went around the country with our packs of DFG Quality Mark cards, which everybody who came along received a pack, and hopefully if you're in the chat and if you've been using them, be interesting to see how that's been going for you since. But we're doing some more roadshows in the autumn. We'll be visiting Liverpool, Southampton, Wolverhampton, Sheffield and London, and we'd love to get more local authorities to speak. So if you're doing some good stuff, then please get in touch, and be fantastic to hear from you as part of the autumn roadshows. But just before we start, one of the things that we always used to do with our kind of webinars and Foundations Live was have a little poll at the start, and of where we're doing them now. We've now got the functionality. So where are you watching us from today? You enter the poll by putting the number 1, 2, or 3 in the chat. So if you're working from home, put a 1. If you work in the office, put a 2, and if you're somewhere else entirely, put a 3. And let's see where everybody is today. We started doing webinars back in 2000, when obviously almost everybody was at home, and yeah, most of you are still at home. Nobody's anywhere else other than home or the office, or if they don't want to share, which fair enough. Great, thank you for that. So, as I said, today we're looking at the DFG Quality Mark, and it's something that we launched as part of the recent round of roadshows, but now I want to tell everybody else about it if you didn't get to join us. So I'm going to go through an introduction to the DFG Quality Mark. And the kind of thinking behind it is, and I'll kind of go through the rationale for this in a minute, that some local authorities have systems in place and processes in place that are a bit like slightly older Beetle, and some have systems and processes in place that are much more like a Porsche GT3, both built on the same kind of initial design and kind of concept, but obviously now very, very different vehicles, and one gets you from A to B much quicker than the other. And so the same applies to DFG services across the country, or local authorities services across the country. And as with everything, it follows a normal distribution or standard distribution, in that half are above average, half are below average, which is how averages work. But also there are always a kind of minority that are doing grants adaptations really quickly. Got the Porsche GT3, but there are also some that are at the other end of the spectrum that are kind of more the beaten up old Beetle and getting through the process much more slowly. And then everyone else is kind of somewhere between that. And this is the distribution of spend across the country, across local authorities. The median spend compared to allocation is around 80%. So you can see not everybody's spending all of their money. So speed of delivery isn't particularly affected in most places by the amount of allocation or the amount of funding they have. And particularly, we move on to this slide where we've got the distribution of delivery times. So this is from last year's Delta returns. And it shows the delivery times for stages 2 and 3 and 4 in the process. So this is after the OT assessment and recommendation has been done through to the completion of works. And what this chart is showing us is that the average local authority does those stages 2, 3, and 4 in 223 working days, which is about 10 to 11 months. If we look at the guidance, it gives best practice of around 130 days, which we can see from this chart. Just under 20% of local authorities are hitting that average. So what's kind of the what's happening with the other 80% to not be hitting that kind of best practice target? So as we've seen from the previous slide, it's not necessarily money because not everybody's spending their full allocation. So what can we do to help those with a Beetle move a little bit closer to those with a Porsche? And that's primarily what the DFG Quality Mark is set up to do. So it's designed as a national standard for the delivery of DFGs. And we're going to go through in this session why we're launching it, how it works, how to get involved, and how we can support you on the journey to hopefully getting the quality mark in the future. And part of why we're launching it is that over the last 10 years or so, the profile of disabled facilities grants within, I think particularly within social care, has increased significantly alongside the budget. So just over 10 years ago, the budget was 220 million across England, and now it's 723 million. And it's now funded by the Department of Health and Social Care, where it used to be funded by Ministry of Housing, as it is now, and I think it was the ODPM back then. And alongside that increase in funding, there are growing expectations on speed and quality. And as we saw from the previous charts, there is significant variation between timescales in different areas. And really, everybody across the country should be getting a more consistent service. So the DFG Quality Mark, as we're launching it now, focuses on those stages 2, 3, and 4 of the process. That's after the OT has made the assessment or recommendation, so that it works consistently for every housing authority across the country, of which there are currently 294. And once local government reorganisation has played out, so we've got unitary authorities or single tier authorities across the country, we will revisit and incorporate stage 1, so it can also apply to every local authority. But we didn't think it was appropriate at this point to have a different one for districts and for unitaries, which would potentially be the case if we included the OT or the kind of the assessment stage 1. So what the quality mark will do is that for those that are delivering a good service, performing well, there will be a badge that recognises the quality of their service. For others, it will give you a clear clear view of what to do to improve your service, and a way to prioritize that improvement process. And for everybody, it will help us to focus on the support that we can provide to help you on that journey. So the DFG Quality Mark, if you haven't been on the roadshows and haven't picked up the packs of cards, it's based on 75 elements, so 75 things that a good, efficient, well-run DFG service must, should, or could do. And those 75 things are split into 8 themes. And the idea is that each of the 75 is in quite simple, clear, practical language, and that they're all quite objective. So it's either a yes or a no rather than a maybe. So we've tried to make them all as objective as we can. And the themes that those 75 items are kind of split into are these. So it started with health and safety. That was the first theme and the first requirements that we put together. And then we started looking at what housing assistance policy should include so that you're using your discretion appropriately. What public information is available so that people know how the DFG works, what they should expect, what would happen if things go wrong, those sort of things. Looking at how you manage contractors and do procurement, how you monitor both kind of cases as they go through the system or through the pipeline, and thinking about how you kind of benchmark some of that as well. Agency service is about the support given to members of the public to make those applications. Strategic and sustainable is links with organisations like housing associations, Better Care Fund, health teams. And sustainable is obviously about making adaptations that are there for the long term and not just ripped out and thrown away at the first opportunity. And the last one is about having a nice, slick way of processing DFG applications. So the cards, I say we've set out each of these 75 on individual cards so that you can see each one individually, which I think as we were developing the quality mark, we kind of had a list of 75 kind of in a long spreadsheet, but actually looking at each one individually, I think gives it its own impetus, which I thought was quite helpful, certainly in terms of improvement and kind of picking out which ones to work on. So each of the cards shows what the requirement is, gives a bit of further context to go with it. And you can see at the bottom, they're grouped into must-dos, should-dos, and there are also some could-dos. So, for example, this is the set of cards for public information. And it's primarily the sort of information that you should have on your website so that people know what to expect, know how to move through the process, know what's going to happen, know what to do if things go wrong, rather than you having to individually explain that to them every time something happens, and to kind of cut down on the number of calls you get as well, so that people are well informed, or as informed as they can be as you go through the process. And one of the reasons for doing this was that we did some work a couple of years ago looking at local authority websites and the DFG pages, and this is an example of I've anonymized it, but this is an example of a current local authority web page and the amount of information it includes about DFGs for residents in that area. And so you don't get told a great deal. So I think somebody in that area would find it quite difficult to know quite what's involved and quite what they need to do and quite what they can expect. But what we also did as part of that piece of work is look at some of the better ones, and we put together a template for a local authority DFG web page that ticks off all the requirements for the DFG Quality Mark as well. So this is kind of the sort of resource and sort of support we want to provide, so that you can quite easily, assuming you've got the support of your IT teams and web teams, do something that's a lot better for members of the public in terms of having that public information. Next one I want to go through is health and safety, and this was actually the first. I think I mentioned earlier, this was the first section that I started looking at, and it was after I'd visited a local authority and was kind of talking through their processes and procedures with them, and they didn't really understand or adhere to the construction design and management regulations. In fact, one of the technical officers said to me they were too busy to bother with that sort of thing, which given that it's a legal requirement and you could potentially get prosecuted for not complying with it, I thought wasn't particularly good practice. So this is that was one of the instigators for this kind of particular section of the quality mark. And it's not to say that DFGs and adaptations are necessarily the most high risk construction task you can undertake, but there have been cases where people have died as a result of adaptations of one sort or another. I don't think any of these were DFG funded, but probably the most shocking one was the one on the top left there, where a contractor had gone in to do a level access shower and cut out the floorboards ready to fit the former. And this guy fell through the floor, and unfortunately to his death. So it is there are inherent risks with any type of construction project, and so the quality mark cards around health and safety are based on these 10 things that you need to know, from what the CDM regulations are all about, who's the client, who are the designers and what they need to do, what contractors need to do, the pre-construction information you need to provide, the construction phase plan that you need to make sure that the contractors provided, understand what you need to do in asbestos, particularly in buildings or homes built before 2000, when you need to notify the HSC, what the health and safety file is at the end of the project, and also what you need to do if there's a high-risk, high-rise building. So I just wanted to go through those quickly, because I say it is a really key, and it was the first part of the quality mark that I put together. So the construction or CDM regs are the construction design and management regulations, and the current set are from 2015, although they did come out in the 90s, and they were introduced because back in the 70s and 80s there was a person died every day on a building site in the UK, and the idea was to put together some regulations that help to design out many of those risks, so that all that work could be done in a much safer way and have significantly reduced casualties and fatalities. And the CDM regs apply from any construction work. So from fitting a grab rail through to building HS2, CDM regs apply. But it's important to say it is proportional. So you'd obviously need a lot less documentation for fitting a grab rail than you would for building HS2. But in any case, it is a legal requirement to comply with the CDM regs. And there are three key roles within the CDM regs. Those are client, designer, and contractor. So the contractor very neatly maps across to the contractor in our triangle of key actors in the DFG process. The design is usually carried out by the local authority or home improvement agency. So then who is the client? And client responsibilities depends upon who is primarily in control of the work. So who's doing the design, who's paying the money, who's deciding when it will be done, those sort of things. And if you're the client, then you have those responsibilities. And I think sometimes in the past it's been assumed that because contractually it's often the householder or the applicant who has the contract with the contractor, that they would be a domestic client. But if there's an agency service supporting them through the process, doing the design, getting the quotes, arranging the start on site, then it would be your local authority team or your home improvement agency or the client. And it's only a domestic client if that client is in control of the process, managing their own project, and the local authority's route is, or role is, only administering the grant. So for the vast majority of DFGs, the council will be the client, unless you've got an external HIA, and that contractual relationship is irrelevant to who is the client under CDM. And so the client as the council, or the council as the client, will be responsible for providing the pre-construction information and ensuring that contractors and designers comply with their duties as well. So usually looks like that. Local authority or home improvement agency is both the client and the designer. And as a designer, usually an architect or technical officer, but the OT may have design input as well. But whoever is involved in the design must be thinking about eliminating or reducing foreseeable risks that might arise either while the project on site and being built, or may occur afterwards, either in terms of maintenance or use of the building. So things from slip resistance on the floor through to whether somebody can reach and change a light bulb or clean out the drain will be part of thinking about potential of foreseeable risks. Contractor responsibilities. So contractor must plan, manage and monitor construction works, and they must also provide information about risks for health and safety of their workers. So they must keep their workers safe. The designer or the client will provide the pre-construction information. So this is a list of this sort of thing that the contractor would need to know to understand how to do the job safely. So it might also include things like whether the client's got asthma, for example, and that they need to take precautions with dust and the like. And also if the client's got a big dog that might escape and bite them, that's the thing you would also include within your pre-construction information. And then from that, your contractor or principal contractor, if you've got more than one, puts together the construction phase plan that would have things like the key date, site rules, where the skip's going to go, if the toilet can be used, those sort of things, so that the whole project runs as smoothly and as safely as possible. It's a legal requirement for technical officers to have annual training, annual asbestos awareness training, so they understand when asbestos is likely to be found and where it's likely to be found in a building, which for most buildings built before the turn of the century, you're quite likely to have asbestos somewhere in the property. Artex, for example, quite often includes asbestos. And throughout, it's about identifying risks. You can leave asbestos if you're not going to disturb it, but if it's going to be disturbed, then you need to have professionals in who will safely remove it, and that should be included in your DFG costs if required. Make sure you've got asbestos surveys done before the works start, and checking that the contractors have completed it and that you're kind of happy that that's been done is another one of the key requirements. And where one local authority that hadn't checked robust checks that contractors had done that work and had been found out by the HSE. So we do have health and safety training available on the website, including an Irish approved asbestos awareness course if you need that for your technical officers every year. Number 8 is knowing when to notify HSE of a project. So that's for projects that last more than 30 days with 20 plus workers or 500 plus person days. So basically, if you've got an extension or you're building an extension, traditional build extension, you should notify the HSE that that's on site. I'm not aware of the HSE ever visiting a DFG extension. I'm sure they've got more hazardous sites to look at, but it is a legal requirement to notify them for those kind of slightly larger projects. And then the health and safety file is probably the last requirement of CDM, which is basically a file of information that you hand over to the applicant or homeowner at the end of the job, usually kind of a hard ring binder with things like as-built drawings, test certificates, building reg certificates, manufacturer's instructions, warranties, etc. And then, as I mentioned, the final bit is something that came in with the Building Safety Act in a response to the tragedy at Grenfell, and it brings in stricter regulations for doing modifications and works in high-rise buildings. So typically a bathroom adaptation would trigger the additional permissions from the building safety regulator that can take quite a while to get through the process. But again, it's a legal requirement that you're aware of that and follow those new regulations. So those kind of the 10 things that are part of the health and safety section, and I think all those are must-dos, and that you have to legally comply with when you're delivering DFGs. In terms of contractors and procurement, there's a set of cards that look at different aspects of contractors and procurement, and 4 of those will be covered if you're using the home adaptations installer network, at which point I'm going to come out of these slides and bring back Sean. Hi, Sean. And Sean is from the Home Adaptations Installer Network, and Sean's going to give you a quick intro, an overview of how it works, what it does, and how it will help you in your DFG Quality Mark journey. So over to you, Sean.
Super. Thanks, Paul. Hi, everybody. My name's Sean McCluskey, Operations Director at the Home Adaptations Installer Network. I'll refer it to HAIM probably throughout the presentation because the Home Adaptations Installer Network can be a bit of a mouthful at times. But I'll give you a little bit of information about us, why we've created the network, what it is, and how it can help you and your clients. So there's 3 key audiences for the HAIM network. So we've got installers, local authorities, and householders. Each one is very key to each other, and we are focusing around registered installers to help you guys find suitably qualified and competent installers, and similarly that homeowners and householders or your clients are receiving very good levels of service. So Paul did a survey, I think it was last year before, and one of the key things that came out of it was that 41% of local authorities don't have an approved contractor list. So they don't do any vetting, they don't have somebody they always fall back on, which was, I think probably all can think about that's quite alarming. So HAIM was kind of born out of that requirement, that need for local authorities, so that we can help step in and resolve that issue for you guys. And but if you have got your own network and you have got your own contractors and compliance in place, we can help support with additional contractors also. We've been kind of developing this with foundations and some local authorities over the last couple of years. and we introduced it to the road shows last year and briefly the previous year as well, but more importantly this year, because it's now live, it's now working, we've now got contractors on our network. So a little bit about us. We were founded in 1999. We are experts in the construction space, and we work with large brands to vet and check and accredit their installer network throughout. So we've got roughly over 1,000 to 1,500 contractors that we're working with year on year throughout the whole of the UK. So we're very experienced in the vetting side of dealing with contractors. And how can we help you? Well, as Paul's just alluded to there, the DFG Quality Mark. So I've picked out 4 key areas here. If it is something that you guys are interested in looking for, of how Hain can help you. So on the cards, some of them have got them, which is great. Some of them haven't got them, but on the cards, there's sections around vetted contractor list with regular checks. That's something that we do. It's not just a one-hit check that we do. We constantly monitor contractors throughout their time with us. A clear contractor code of conduct. Hain has one of those. It has gone through legal checks, so it is quite robust. Independent complaints resolution system. We are backed by Trustmark. So hopefully some of you know who Trustmark is, but if not, I can come on to that a little bit further down the line of what that actually means. And importantly, sharing trusted contractor lists with self-funders. I know some of you guys do it, some don't like to do it, but where you have a client that is self-funding and you don't know where to point them in the direction to, Hain can help support you guys and your privately funded clients also with that. And it's important to note there that, you know, all of this is free for local authorities as well. So how can we help you? Well, if you have your own contractor list and you do vetting, wonderful, fantastic. But if you don't do any vetting, we can help with that. So there's a couple of routes really that we can assist here. And it's working well so far with some of the local authorities we've spoken to. So we can take on your list, provide us with your lists. We work with you and your contractors to bring them all on board. We'll get them all to the same level of vetting throughout the whole process. And then we will inform you which contractors have passed, which ones have failed. But that continual monitoring is handled by us rather than yourselves. Alternatively, if you have your own contractor lists, but you need additional contractors to help with waiting lists, or your guys are busy, then again, we have a network here now you can start calling upon, and we can share details of any contractors within your area. So do feel free to get in touch. Details at the end of the slide on how to do that. But also for private funders, again, where there's challenges internally regarding referring privately funded projects to contractors on your network, point them in our direction. We'll match that particular client up with a contractor or vetted contractor on our network. So you don't have to do that. Point them in our direction. We'll do all that for you. And just to reiterate, this is all completely free for local authorities, housing associations, and private funders. There's no charge for this. The only charge comes on the contractor pays us for being on our network. We cover a range of trades. So primarily, I think it's about 80% of the DFG funded projects that are happening throughout the UK at the moment are bathroom, kitchens, and stair lifts. But we're slowly starting to expand out our work types that we're going to, vet contractors for. But we've had bathroom installers on our network already that cover most of the UK. Kitchen installers. We have some home extensions. Certainly ramps and garden. Ramps is really an easy one that we've got on board. We've got quite a few ramps and lifts and stair lift providers already on our network. But as we continue to grow, that list of trades will also grow. So how do we vet our contractors? Well, each one is vetted initially as they join us. And like I say, throughout their time with us, they're constantly vetted. So we have a vetting process that I'll go into in a second, but this is all backed around Trustmark. So again, hopefully some of you guys know what Trustmark is. So some of the key things we look for, we have an initial conversation with contractors just to make sure that they have all the criteria that's required. And the key criteria are around insurances. So do they have a £5 million public liability policy? Are they prepared to, and will they provide a minimum of a 2-year guarantee? That's a requirement to the scheme. If they only offer 12 months and they're not prepared to offer any more than that, then they're not suitable for our scheme. But I say this is a minimum 2-year. If they want to offer 10, 20, 50 in extreme scenarios, then that they're more than happy to, but we ask for a minimum of 2 years. Something called SSIP, which is a health and safety qualification. So that's a mandatory requirement of the scheme. And they also have to have 2 years experience in this arena, because it's not just they may be involved in some challenging environment. So if they've got the experience already, then that's fantastic. That's the kind of thing that we're looking for. The next stage of that is they complete their application form and they sign our code of practice. So they review it all and agree to the terms within that. And then we start collecting all their documentation. So if they've said they've got public liability, we'll have the certification to prove it. If they've got employer's liability, we'll have the certification to prove it, and so on and so forth, because we have to evidence and demonstrate that that is the case. And also all customer-facing or client-facing individuals will be DBS checked. We have records of those here, and we'll continue to monitor those. We'll also have records of when the dates that were completed, so that it's a minimum of every 3 years they'll get redone, and we'll contact the contractors to let them know that their DBSs are due to expire. Customer references, we always ask for those, and we do follow up on those. Customers could be private clients. They can also be local authorities if we've got contractors that's worked with local authorities for a long while. We look for companies' house checks. So we're looking to see if there's any patterns of opening a business, closing it down very quickly as soon as they've come up with a problem or debt or something. So it just gives us a good feel, really, of the credibility of an organisation. And also we look at their online presence. So they have a Facebook account. So what's the kind of content that they're posting through there, or any review sites that they have signed up to. Again, we look at the reviews to start looking at building that larger picture of what they are overtly advertising themselves as. And then we carry out an on-site assessment. So we will go out to one of their jobs and we'll review the work types that they've completed. They pick and choose which work types they want. So if all they do is bathroom installations, then we'll assess them for bathroom installations. If all they do is stair lifts, so on and so forth. But for here, there's a bit of a caveat on that. So if they've been working with local authorities for a number of years, and similarly, every single one of their jobs are signed off by local authorities from start to finish, then we can liaise with local authorities around that and negate the requirement for an assessment. But we do try and make sure that we assess them at least every 3 years for the work types. And whether an assessment is carried out, let's take a bathroom, for example. We can go into a bathroom and it looks fantastic, it looks beautiful, best bathroom in the world, but actually what's behind the tiles? How is the plumbing works behind all the boxing? Is that done? Is the level access shower suitably supported underneath, so the client's not going to fall through, or it's not going to crack in a short period of time? And then for individuals that do join that organisation later down the line that are a member, they've had little experience working in the DFG world or with vulnerable people, then we do have an online training course for those individuals to take and have a look at it, just to reinforces that what a DFG is, how to handle individuals of a challenging nature, and where to seek support as and when that's required. And as I said, a continual search, really, we continually monitor their progress. There will be a feedback loop coming in later down the line. We will be doing periodical reassessments of that particular organisation, and we do these annual background checks. So once their insurance comes out of date, we follow up on that. We'll make sure that their insurance is always current and valid. We do have a code of practice. Like I said, this has gone through legal teams, so it is quite robust. And the key things in there are really what they've pulled out here. It's like quotation best practice to make sure any quotations they're providing is really clear to the individual of what they're getting. Areas around customer service and their conduct and dealing with vulnerable individuals. Health and safety declarations to prove and demonstrate that they are competent and know what they're doing. And if they don't know, then they can certainly know where to seek the support that's required. But SSIP does sit around that, so they should be fully au fait. Insurances and guarantees, this is them, again, a contract to confirm that they'll always have their insurances in place and they'll always provide a minimum of 2-year guarantee on any works that's carried out. Similarly, DBS checks, they have to have DBS checks. So the individuals are signing up to say that, yes, they will continue to do so. That they know what to do when there's a complaint that comes on board. If they struggle with complaints, that's where we can help support the contractor here. I've got a slide on that in a second. And where they are non-compliant, we will remove them from the scheme. And these are things like complaints or feedback from local authorities, where you're going out to jobs and reviewing their works. If it's not of a suitable quality and caliber, then we can remove somebody pretty quickly and pretty easily, and that gets communicated out to anybody that's requiring, specifically their local authorities that have been working with previously. So Trustmark, hopefully some of you know what Trustmark is. So Trustmark is the only government endorsed quality scheme for works carried out in the home. That's their tagline, not ours. So Trustmark is embedded within Hain. So for contractors that join the Hain network, they also get Trustmark free of charge. So I know that in here that some local authorities mandate that all of their contractors have to be Trustmark registered. Fantastic, wonderful. We can help with that. If you do have contractors that are Trustmark registered but are also interested in Hain, or is it something you as local authorities are interested in Hain, we can help with a Trustmark aspect to it. And like I say, by joining Hain, the contractor gets Trustmark free of charge. So what's in it for contractors? They obviously get the Trustmark registration, they get the Hain membership, and for local authorities that do mandate things, they get access to working on current existing DFG projects, but also able to pay jobs, able to pay all the privately funded projects. Now they can come through yourselves, or they can come through to us as referrals. We're already receiving privately funded projects coming through our network currently, and those leads are going out direct to the members that's on our network as they stand. And also the contractors gets our support team. So we've been in this arena for a good number of years now. So we know what we're talking about. We're excellent at what we do. And we're there, to support the contractor, be it somebody that's got 500 employees or the guy, man of the van that is struggling with something, doesn't know how to handle something. We're here in the background to help support them and direct them to support if we don't have the answers. So what does it cost? So for a contractor, it's £40 a month. It's not a huge amount. Like I said before, that's inclusive of Trustmark. They get promoted on our website when that starts to advertise our contractors. They get listed on the Trustmark website. So again, anybody looking on the Trustmark website will find these particular contractors as well. And they get to use the logos of both our branding. But also they get some scheme discounts as well. So things like AA discount, tool insurance, fuel cards, etc. For being part of the membership scheme. And those will only grow in time. So where are we today? I think Paul mentioned earlier there's 294 local authorities. I put roughly there's 300 in there, so I'll need to change that slide. But we're currently working with 61 local authorities around the UK to see how Hain can support them, either with providing with additional contractors, vetting their existing contractors, or as a route for privately funded clients. So how you use Hain, how you wish to use Hain is entirely up to you, but we can help in all those different areas. And some local authorities are also starting to mandate that all their contractors have to be Hain registered, which is fantastic. If that's something you're interested in, then please, do get in touch. We've got roughly 91 contractors that are going through, and I do know the team have mentioned a couple more this morning, going through the process to be vetted. Some are fully members at the moment, which is great. And some are large organisations that cover the whole of the UK, some are more regional, and those that are on the network already have started to receive leads. So that's privately funded jobs that's coming through us. So we hand those out to the contractors, and we can triage these through and dealing with the client and dealing with the contractor as well, as and when needed. For new contractors that's interested to join the scheme, we're offering the first 3 months free. That's really easy to say. So we can demonstrate value of the scheme. So we're very keen to demonstrate that it is worthwhile joining, not only to say from the Trustmark aspect to it, but also that the work will come their way. And where we're going next. So we're building the network. We are where we are today. We're looking to build more contractors in, but in the future, this is we're always looking at ways of how we can improve what we're offering. So later this year, we will have a search functionality on the website that will list all our contractors and the examples there of who they are, the work types that completed, but also their contact details. So again, privately funded projects or clients can get in contact with them directly, or similarly, local authorities can check to make sure directly. So that will be later this year. We're speaking with a procurement framework specialist at the moment that will be specifically around local authority and housing association procurement compliance. So procurement takes a long while, as you probably all know, to come into force, but that will be something we're looking at either later this year or early next year to have a whole framework that we can just slot into local authorities as and when we're required. We're working with a digital app developer at the moment. We're working with 2 actually. With in-house, we are building a development app for contractors. So all their records and information being kept that they have access to themselves. Similarly, they can start uploading images of jobs throughout the day, or to protect themselves, so that and keep a whole history of the works that they've carried out per job. Similarly, there's another app that is more for the able to pay market and the private funders, where and it's AI based at the moment and very early in its infancy, where you can scan a room with a phone and it will identify the work types that, based on a client's requirements or conditions of what it recommends, would be useful for that particular individual to stay in their home for longer. So it may come up with you need a level access shower, and in there it will list out all the different items in there, put a value in there, but also be able to link you direct with a contractor, and those contractors will all be Hain registered. So that will be coming probably next year. That gets fully released. Foundations have an Adapt My Home website. Some of you hopefully are aware of that. But again, this is for individuals to go and find out more information of what is a DFG, how do I get a DFG, where do I go for that additional help, and it points them in the direction of local authorities. But similarly, for those private funders that are looking for, just to get on with it themselves and fund it themselves, how to search for a contractor, and Hain is embedded within that. So that works. But also moving forward, we're looking for, Paul's touched on earlier about CDM regs for yourselves training and asbestos training. We're looking to do that for contractors, so that if they if you guys want evidence of that, we can provide that through our platform. But again, it's all refreshers that they'll all be experienced in this area. And ultimately, the vision of where we want to go with Hain is that we want this to be the kind of the national government standard throughout the whole of the UK. Now, this will take time inevitably, but we want everybody and all local authorities to use Hain. We want all contractors to be Hain registered and all be at the same kind of standards. There's a level playing field across the board, but more specifically around those 41% of local authorities that don't have those contractor lists in place at the moment, so we can raise their standards as well. And this all links back into quite nicely the DFG Quality Mark. So as more and more local authorities look into the DFG Quality Mark, how they can help themselves be compliant with that, that's where Hain fits the bill quite nicely. So lots of things going off with Hain, which is great. Lots of growth, lots of things moving forward at the moment and progression, which is fantastic. And if anybody has any questions or would want to know more about Hain or specific questions for themselves, then please get in touch either through the chat. I can see some questions already, or alternatively, my details are on there, and I'm sure Paul will send something out afterwards to follow up with.
Great, thank you, Sean. Just while you're talking, that there is one of the cards for about photographic audit and evidence. So that's 5 now. If you
5, yes,
yes,
absolutely.
So Jodie's but one of the kind of early adopters, made all their contracts to join Hain. It saves so much time, and I think that's one of the key things about it is that. Even if you already have a list, you can save so much time by getting Hain to do all the checks for you, and then use your time to move cases through much more quickly than you are now. So it saves a lot of time. It saves a lot of effort. It's a lot more consistent. For contractors, they would only have to do one set of forms rather than doing one for each different local authority. So. We'll be return to this on future Foundations lives, but yeah, if you are interested in using Hain, I think why wouldn't you be? Please do get in touch with Sean and the team. I think one question here from Martin, Sean, in terms of subcontractors.
Yep, subcontractors. So the main contractor is, as we all know, contractually obliged to ensure that their subcontractors are suitably qualified. If they do use subcontractors, then they should ensure that they are also DBS checked. They also have the insurance details of that particular organisation or contractor. If that's the case, we will not always be aware if they are using subcontractors, but in our code of practice, it does state in there that any organisation or member of our scheme that does use subcontractors needs to make sure that everything is in place for them, similarly that they are legally at risk should anything go wrong. And if should anything go wrong, it's the main contractor that is responsible to put something right at their own merit, really.
Fantastic. Thanks, Sean. You okay to hang around a bit, put your contact details in the chat, and
yes, absolutely.
Questions pop up. Great. Thanks, Sean.
Sure.
Foundations Live.
Right, let me return to the quality mark then. So the next section that I wanted to look at is the housing assistance policy section, and a lot of this came from DFG guidance, which hopefully many of you have or are aware of. We've got some of these now in our shop. So if you go on the website, look for the shop, and you want to order your own copy, this is one that I bought from the shop to test it out. They're now available to buy at the Foundation shop. But back to housing assistance policies. So there's a number of cards around housing assistance policy. This first one, having a published housing assistance policy is probably the first requirement. But on the website, we do have a housing assistance policy template for any town council. So you can copy and paste this, change find and replace any town council with your council's name, and you'll have a pretty good template for then adjusting for your own local authority that will be compliant with the quality mark and the DFG guidance. The next one is on being strategic and sustainable. So this is a second of things like working with housing associations, and we've got our conference coming up on the 1st of July in Manchester, which is all about home adaptations in social housing. And the kind of primary focus of that conference is better relationships between local authorities and housing providers, and how we can all work together to make social housing stock more accessible, given that over half of all tenancies are home to somebody with a long-term health condition or disability. And somebody's asked about the cards. We had enough for the recent round of roadshows, but we've got a few left, and we will take them to the conference in Manchester on 1st of July. So if you're free to join us in Manchester, we'll have some more packs of the cards, but that doesn't mean that others of you can't get them, as I will talk about in a moment. So it's all about moving from being a Beetle to being a Porsche GT3, and you can't do that overnight. And this is kind of a slide from kind of British Olympic cycling team and their improvement and kind of marginal gains, and Dave Brailsford. And I think if kind of when you look at the cards and you kind of work through them, if you did or kind of set out to do a card a month over 2 years, you'd be a hell of a long way along the process to get the quality mark after that 2-year point, even if you're the beaten up yellow beetle position at the moment, which is kind of a small minority of local authorities. So I would say don't do it all at once, but work through the cards, and if you can tick off one a month over 2 years, you will be in a significantly better place than you are now. And there's some of them, as you see, you can tick off multiple ones quite quickly. So with the web page template, or joining Hain, or using the housing assistance policy template, you can tick off quite a lot. And similarly with so this is 3 of the cards that are around kind of satisfaction, continuous improvement, and benchmarking. And one of the things that we've recently developed is a online home adaptation feedback system or form that you can use with or for your customers, clients, service users, whatever you call them. Rather than just giving them a postal form or a kind of postcard and an envelope, which many local authorities do, or not having any form of feedback, which again many local authorities don't, you can give them the link to our home adaptation feedback. I've just posted the link to join the waiting list if you want further details. And what they'll be able to do is put in their postcode, so we know which local authority they live in, and it asks them a series of questions about their experience of the DFG process and their home adaptation, including the works of the contractor. And for local authorities that want to be part of that, if you kind of share the details with your clients on a regular basis, we'll send you a summary of that feedback, so the scores and any comments that we've kind of collected as part of that. And then I think the other really interesting bit, or hopefully interesting bit in terms of having one form that multiple areas do, is that we can compare and contrast the scores that you get with the scores that other areas get, to be able to see whether is that score of 80% satisfaction good, or how does that compare with other areas that maybe get 90%, or maybe other areas again 70% or 60%. So it'll give you that bit of extra context, as well as getting your own feedback done. And again, if you're doing your feedback yourself at the moment, that this will save you time. And if you're not doing the feedback at the moment, it will give you that added information that you can use to further improve your service. So yeah, please do join our waiting list if you're interested in the feedback form. And as I said, even though we've got limited numbers of the physical cards, what we do have is a set of virtual cards. And so the DFG Quality Mark app that looks a little bit like this. Well, it looks exactly like this, because this is a screenshot of it. So I'm going to put on the screen, I'm getting the right place on the get the right one. There we go. Put QR code on the screen so that you can scan it with your phone, and it works better on a phone because you can swipe left and swipe right. So basically, all 75 cards are in the app, which you can get to through that QR code, and then you swipe left if you don't currently do whatever it says on that card, and you swipe right if you do. And then you work through the full set of cards, and when you get to the end, it gives you a score. So what we're doing with the scoring is for each must-do card that you say you do, it would be 3 points. For each should do, it's 2 points, and for each could do, it's 1 point. And what we're proposing to do with the scoring for the quality mark is that, based on that criteria, the maximum possible score you get from the 75 cards is 168. And we've set the threshold to get the quality mark at 150 overall, but that must include all the must-do cards, as they're things you must do. So that's scoring criteria for the cards. And so you can have a little play with them, and then ask any questions at the end of it, or give any feedback on that. I'm going to play one of our songs, which I know you always look forward to, and then we'll come back in a few minutes when you've had a little chance to have a go at the cards, and we'll wrap up for this afternoon. So this song is called Put It on the Table, and it's a catchy little number about the value of benchmarking.
We've been working on trust and habit, doing what we thought was best, but feeling good don't make it certain, and guesses never pass the test. Some say leave it with doing fine, but fine depends on who you ask. So let's stop hiding in our history and shine a light across the past. Put it on the table, let's see it side by side. Not to show who's winning, just to see where truths might hide. We're not here for medals, we're just trying to understand. 'Cause you can grow stronger with your head down in the sand. Some places have moved like rolling thunder, some get stuck before they start. Some are fighting with low budgets, some are losing to their charts. But if we know where we are standing, we can see just where to land. There's no shame in being honest, just a chance to change the plan. Repeat. Put it on the table, let's see it side by side. Not to show who's winning, just to see where truths might hide. We're not here for medals, we're just trying to understand, 'cause you can't grow stronger with your head down in the sand. Some fear being measured as if numbers judge the soul, but they're only there to guide us, not to take away control. So put it on the table, let the figures share their say, not to point a finger, just to find a better way. We're not keeping secrets, we're not fighting for a crown, we're just laying out the story, so we know which road to go down.
There we go. Song about benchmarking. Who knew? Who knew? Right. Hopefully you've all been able to either use the QR code or follow the link up in the chat to start having a go with the DFG Quality Mark cards. And what we're going to be doing is inviting your views. So the other link I've put in the chat is at the bottom of the page. There's a survey with a number of questions about the quality mark, asking some of your views on it, how well you think you compare to it, if there's anything we can do to help you with it, and whether you would like to be part of the pilots that we'll be doing later in the year. So we want to get a small group of councils to test it properly and work through exactly how we're going to do the assessments. Where we've got some thoughts in terms of information that we would collect from you from up front and do a desktop study and kind of desktop assessment of it. Then I think there'd be another element where we'd have a kind of Teams call to go through some of the further details. But I think one of the things that we would definitely like to do is one of our regional advisors would come out and do a visit and just kind of see and feel what the service is like, because I think sometimes you don't necessarily get that from either paperwork or a Teams call. So we think it'd be kind of a 3-stage process where there'd be some information you'd send us up front, some stuff we go through on a Teams call, and then if it's all looking good, we'd come out and visit you. So if you're interested in that, again, as part of the survey on the page on the website, you can say you'd be interested in doing that. So try the cards, share it with your colleagues, give us your feedback, and consider joining the pilot. And if you need any help with turning your Beetle into a Porsche, then our regional advisors here to support you as well as kind of training, consultancy, tools and guidance, and I think things like this and the roadshow as well, which are key way that we help to put you in touch with each other as well, because quite often it's talking to other local authorities, other people in the same position as yourselves, that makes the real difference in terms of improvement. So that's all about the DFG Quality Mark. In the autumn, I said we'll be returning with DFG Champions Roadshows, and would love to get more of you to speak. So if you're interested in that, please do come and talk to us. If you want the details to the client feedback tool, you can join our waiting list, and we'll send you all the details and the QR code and bits and pieces for that. And coming up, we have some more. We have some more foundations live. So next month we've got 3 looking at garden adaptations, kitchen design, and then universal design on the 23rd of June. And we also got to fit another one in about the Delta returns. So we're doing a Special Foundations Live going through the questions for this year's Delta return, which will be coming up very shortly as well. So feedback, we will send you a email after the webinar is finished asking for your feedback, and if you complete your email address, you can get a CPD certificate if you need that as well. And thank you for joining us, and thank you to Sean for joining us as well. I think hopefully you'll find the DFG Quality Mark really helpful in terms of thinking about how you deliver the service and how you can plan over the next couple of years things you want to improve. And I say some of those things are quite quick and easy potentially to do. Some of them take a little bit longer, but if you think about doing one a month, you'll be in a much better place in 2 years' time than you are now, which is I think a good place to be. So as always, I'll finish with a song, and it's the one about our upcoming conference and about housing associations and local authorities walking together into the sunset, all working happily. So thank you for joining us today. Hope you enjoy the Quality Mark cards, and we'll be back with another Foundations Live early June.
You came to me, the room was tense. Lines were drawn in self-defense. They don't listen, they don't care. We're the ones who always share. I said, I know that kind of fight, where every word just fuels the night. But maybe there's a view we've missed, a truth that sits between the fists. We all want change, we all want pride, but something breaks when hearts divide. What if you dropped the guard this time and found a way to realign? We're on the same side, don't let our egos collide. It's no time to run and hide. Imagine the type of service we could provide if we see through each other's eyes. Leave the blame and just unite. We're on the same side. Yeah, we're on the same side. They've got goals and we've got ours. Different lanes but the same long hours. We all answer to the call to make it better for them all. No one wins when trust runs thin. The real success is shared within. The greater good's a wider view, and it's got room for me and you. So take a breath, let go of pride. Let purpose be the thing that guides. No us and them, no need to shout. We'll sort it in, not battle out. We're on the same side. Don't let our egos collide. It's no time for run and hide. Imagine the type of service we could provide if we see through each other's eyes. Leave the blame and just unite. We're on the same side. Yeah, we're on the same side. It's not about who gets the praise or who's been waiting for better days. It's what we build when we align. That stands the test, that heals the line. We're on the same side.